Hi, I'm Aaron, host of the Aaron Harber Show. We're here in Houston at the IHS Markit CERAWeek Conference, where the world's public and private sector leaders in the energy field meet to discuss and predict the state of energy exploration, production, transmission, and consumption, along with pressing environmental issues. You can find all of our energy-related programs at harbortv.com/energy. Welcome to the Aaron Harber Show. My guest today, Barbur Ozden, the founder and CEO of MAANA. Barbur, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Aaron.
I'm excited about your product. You're an Energy Innovation Pioneer Award recipient. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, you're ahead of the pack when it comes to innovation in the United States. You should be honored.
We feel very good about it. Thank you.
All right, well, tell me about what MAANA is and how you came up with the concept.
It involves more than me. There are a few of us that came up collectively. About 4.5 years ago, we devised a new way to represent industrial knowledge mathematically, and then used that and invented a computational knowledge graph. That will be my only technical term here in the call. But this computational graph enables large organizations, many of them are attending this show, capture their collective human expertise and data spread across their enterprise into a new digital format. And it becomes their new digital information asset. And then once that knowledge is formed in their premises, behind their firewall, they then start using it to empower people on operational decision points to make better decisions faster.
All right, so once you set up the platform, you're collecting data, creating a knowledge base. I assume that that platform is constantly updating that knowledge base as well.
That's correct. So the knowledge is update itself as new data comes to the data sources. The platform is connected, but more importantly, knowledge comes from the consumption of the knowledge. So the knowledge used to recommend to a subject matter expert to make a decision, and the knowledge graph learns the efficacy of that decision and then learns from its own actions. So the knowledge learns from its own actions and becomes far more valuable to the organization.
And learns from my actions, does it?
You're from your actions.
So it's observing what information I'm most interested in, and then it's able to focus more on what I want without asking me?
That's correct. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you are a field technician working for a very large organization, and your job involves everyday shipping parts to customer sites to either install things or maintain things or repair things. So in the world of industrial, 1 out of so many parts sent that way is never used. So there's a significant amount of waste. Sometimes it's tens of millions of dollars a month is wasted at a single company who maintains a large asset base. So how do you use my platform to influence the decision of a field technician, in this case 1,200 of them around the world, so to make a better decision when sending parts? So at that moment you get a problem ticket from your call center or some customer support center, and based on what's in the ticket, you make a judgment call, pick parts and ship it. So at that moment, behind the scenes, a MAANA solution is suggesting you, if that's given the ticket and the history of all similar things, what parts you should take. And based on your decision becomes a shipment of a part, so the data about that is generated. And then also a data about whether it's installed or not or returned or not. So that data comes back into the graph, and so this system starts learning from its own suggestions.
So is there an AI component?
Oh yeah, of course, it's all about AI. But I shy away from that term.
What's wrong with artificial intelligence?
First of all, it's artificial. I shy away from that term. That term means a lot to a lot of people. It's been around for too long, and we basically enable people to make better decisions. And I'll give you the scale of the opportunity. So if you take the world's largest 600 industrial companies, oil and gas, industrial manufacturing, shipping, logistics, and etc. In these top 600 firms, 2.5 million people every day make 11 million decisions on 70,000 workflows. A 25% improvement of those decisions adds $1.3 trillion in their collective bottom lines.
On an annual basis?
On an annual basis. So the opportunity to empower the subject matter experts when they are about to make an operational decision is not small.
All right, so that's 25%, but even a 2.5%
would make a significant difference,
I mean,
depending on, yes.
You're at $130 billion savings. That's still a lot of money,
yes.
even in today's...
So the premise, so this entire premise is what today's world's largest organizations pursue under the tag name of digital transformation. So when you hear a very large firm from their C-level executives that they are in a digital transformation journey, a significant component of that journey is to empower subject matter experts on these decision workflows to make better decisions using the corporation's entire data and collective human expertise.
What's an example of a company using MAANA right now?
Our customers include companies like General Electric, Shell, Chevron, Maersk, Saudi Aramco, fairly large companies where tens of thousands of people every day make hundreds of thousands of decisions on a workflow. And I keep repeating workflow. These are existing decision workflows. A planned or unplanned something happens. An individual or a group of individuals have a decision deadline, either few minutes or few hours to make a decision. With or without good data, that decision has to be made by the deadline. So the challenge in the digital transformation, there are hundreds of such decision workflows in a large organization, and then thousands of people working on those daily. So how can you empower every single decision point with our technology? So
does MAANA also provide any kind of projection of potential savings or any analysis of actual savings, saying, generating reports saying this month, this is what we accomplished on your behalf and this is what we saved your company? Or am I giving you a new idea?
You may be giving me a new idea, but the thing is, so the customers themselves track these in other ways. So a good example would be, will using MAANA helping field technicians order parts more appropriately. So the company will see that in 3 months in their quarterly, when they close their quarterly financing. So they'll see the improvement in other ways. They track it in other ways.
All right, so this is what you need to do for MAANA. You need to have a pre-MAANA report and a post-MAANA report so that you can say this month, if we did it, if GE, when you talk to Jeffrey and Melt, you say, Jeff, if we did it this way, your old way at GE, this is what it would cost you, but you did it this way with MAANA and we saved you $1.8 million.
They know, they track it and they know, and that's why they're an investor in my company. So we, along the way, building MAANA, we have very successfully converted some of our customers like GE, Shell, Chevron, Intel, and Saudi Aramco, also strategic investors in MAANA.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back to talk more about MAANA.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scene photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. I very much would like to hear from you about the program, so please send me an email with your thoughts. You can suggest what topics I should cover, what guests I should invite to be on the show, or even what specific questions you would like me to ask. This is your program, so send your suggestions to aaron@harbertv.com. I promise to personally read every one, so email me today. And most of all, thanks for watching. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Join me and watch The Aaron Harber Show.
Watch The Aaron Harper Show.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show.
Watch the Aaron Harper Show.
Watch the Aaron Harber Show.
I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch the Aaron Harper Show and keep hope alive.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at www.harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the show. I'm with Barbur Ozden, the CEO and creator of MAANA, and we're talking about how we can automate processes in a way that make our productivity go up. And productivity is a key issue and a big challenge for not just American companies, but companies all over the world. Tell me how you think, and if there are any metrics, MAANA can be used in maybe different applications to increase productivity. Because really one of the things you're doing is you're gathering analytics and you're actually analyzing how people use those analytics, where they're making decisions, and how you're giving them information so they can make better decisions. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct. So there is inherent in these daily decisions, there is an collective productivity of a group or a business unit or a division and eventually the entire company. But it is, productivity depends on from which angle are you looking at it. So there are different competing optimizations involved. How do you decide productivity? So our goal as a platform, we are more nimble. All we want to do is people in an organization, when they are involved in an operation of an important asset or the things around that asset, they make better decisions faster. So that, I believe, will help productivity, but it is not what is our number one goal that we pursue.
What are some platform applications that you have not created yet? What are some environments that you could be in as you look to the future, where you would have a significant impact on the bottom line of a company, an organization?
So that's a very good question. So when we started MAANA, and until very recently, we've been growing by word of mouth. And so we have not been actively pursuing new customers. It was more of an inbound coming to us. And in 2013, totally haphazardly and serendipitously, we found ourselves within the oil and gas world. And so it became our starting point. So we have a good increasing traction in oil and gas. Last year, in 2016, the world's largest container shipping company, Maersk, became our customer. So we now know our product works in shipping, logistics, related environment. And we are going into, last year we went into in the insurance world, on the industrial insurance. So there are a number of new verticals that we go in mainly by word of mouth and reference.
All right, but let's talk about horizontals. When you looking ahead, and for example, certainly in the world of the internet, analytics are a huge element in data collection. How could MAANA be applied in that world possibly? Or have you thought about that yet?
So in the future world, when there are trillions of devices other than your phone and laptop.
Actually, I think we're probably there already of the Internet of Things.
Trillions of devices are connected to an internet, and they are not just sending data, but they're also receiving data and receiving instructions autonomously do things. These devices will need a search engine. So think of it this way. So I'm jumping a few years ahead. So when internet came about and the World Wide Web came about, and all of a sudden websites start popping up like mushroom. Today there are more than 20 billion websites and about 3 billion people on internet using them, searching them, finding stuff on them. So think that concept that you are now 1 trillion machines like connected to an internet of their own, and they have data to churn, they create data, so they will need a search engine of their own. So think of a search engine of machines. And it's not for people, it's for machines. So that a future.
You're starting to scare me.
That's a future I think we are very well prepared.
I don't want my machines to be using a search engine.
You want your machines to use the right search engine, so they find what they want to do very quickly, very accurately, so they do their task properly. But I see a future where if the IoT, industrial IoT, is going to become as real as we think it will, that world, machines will need a search engine like humans on the internet need a search engine to search stuff. So I think that's what we are heading into it, and my company is very well positioned. If that future exists, will be their search engine.
Now, one of the applications for MAANA, which I was impressed with, is the way data can be collected so that MAANA can actually help companies decide when to do maintenance, because MAANA has the ability to say, based on historical data and our projection, if you do maintenance 25 days earlier, you have a higher probability of avoiding a breakdown in the system or something like that.
That's correct.
Tell me how that works.
So that's correct. What happens is that when you are maintaining your own asset base or the things you sold to your customers, so you are not only bounded with when an equipment needs a maintenance, but you're also bounded with the service level agreement of that equipment to produce something. And so therefore, you're also bound with parts and supplies and people that need to go to that site to do the maintenance. And the maintenance means a plant disruption in the output of that equipment. So all of these constraints or all of these parameters come to in one play, as it gives a company who's responsible for maintaining, pick the best maintenance that fits. They still could honor their service level agreements. They still have the customer produce what they signed for to produce with that machine. And then they, the provider of the maintenance, still do a profitable job. So this all comes learning from the data. And when there's mass amounts of data, traditional learning methods which, for example, at the core of IBM Watson is a traditional way of learning from data. We come from the new world of the machine learning from the data. So we run inordinate amount of algorithms that has some artificial intelligence in it. They're either very smart or less smarter, and they try to learn from the data by using data itself. So that's a very powerful tool collectively when the data starts telling you when is the right thing to do, rather than you use a tribal knowledge or a fixed scheduled calendar.
Right, like every 90 days. So I mean, really, there are two elements that MAANA is contributing to. First, it's saying what maintenance you need. So instead of going on a schedule that says you need to do A, B, C, and D, MAANA might say you only need to do A and C.
That's correct.
And then secondly, what MAANA is able to do is say the timeline, instead of doing it every 6 months, if you do it in the beginning of month 5, you may avoid a breakdown.
And further than that, so if you must maintain a certain assets while you're there, what else can you maintain while you're there?
All right, so the third element, much greater efficiency. If we're going to shut down the system for an hour, what else can we do at that time?
And think of this same problem in a radically different way. So you are a trader, you bought a crude, and you now look at your right side of your company where owns vessels. You now need to ship these vessels. So you have committed to 20 trades, and your company has 6 available vessels to move from A to B. And when you look at which boat to select, so you say, I want to take from A to B, but when I go to B, is there another trade that I can pick it back, bring it here? So it's the same problem, same maintenance problem comes into a logistics problem. So that's a great places to use MAANA.
As well. All right, we're going to take our last break, and we'll be right back.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scene photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today. Hi, I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Because I've never done endorsements or commercials, people ask how are our programs funded, especially because we provide them as a public service to all our broadcast outlets. It's expensive to produce our show, whether we do them here in Denver or go to places such as Aspen, Washington, D.C., or even Iraq. The answer is we depend on contributions to support our work to bring you some of the nation's top opinion leaders. Individuals, businesses, foundations, and other nonprofits make tax-deductible contributions to the Democracy and Media Education Foundation to help allow us to continue to work for you. To find out more or to make a donation, just go to dmefd.org. The DMEF is a tax-exempt public charitable organization and has promised to dedicate 100% of every contribution to support our public affairs initiatives. If you believe as I do in the need for a forum which promotes civil discourse and mutually respectful discussion, I hope you'll decide to make a contribution today. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scenes photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Join me and watch The Aaron Harber Show.
Watch the Aaron Harper Show.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show.
Watch the Aaron Harper Show.
Watch the Aaron Harper Show.
I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch the Aaron Harper Show and keep hope alive.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at www.harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the show. We are talking about MAANA, and one of the things that fascinates me is the different applications, and one that interests me is how could analytics be used with MAANA to prevent cyber attacks, or to anticipate, or what relationship could there be, or is that an area that you really could not?
A couple of our customers in oil and gas space, among the many areas they use MAANA, a cybersecurity related use is one of them. They're a group of cyber security analysts need to look at very large volumes of data to look for certain patterns that are previously identified, and also learn from new patterns that may have a signature of a malicious activity. So it is in that environment, wherever there is massive quantities of data coming from in all directions, and you need to make sense of it, you need a system like MAANA. But at the end of the day, a decision maker, whether something is really malicious or not, is a human being. So the cybersecurity world, like with many other worlds, is not fully automated yet. We rely on experts, human beings, that know these threats. They have other sources. They're not necessarily cyber. They have physical world sources that they collect information and then go look at in any patterns on cyber. But it is part of our world as we become more digital, more connected. This threat is hovering around humanity, and I don't think we're just paying a lip service to it right now.
So with MAANA, couldn't you use MAANA to look at patterns in terms of increases, volumes, or attempts to enter a system where there may have been 5 or 10 a day, suddenly they're 20 or 30, and then when there are events, is MAANA smart enough to use that information to help you make a better decision next time? So describe how it might work.
Definitely, a MAANA system in MAANA, whether it's cybersecurity or for another endeavor. So what you do is that in the history, you know certain things took place. So you have a certain event that you know that took place in the history. So there's a data about it. And then you train your models. This is what in our world we call models. It is the models that churn the data, that understand what's going on in the data. So you give a model, you train a model saying that, look, in the past, this specific thing happened. Can you find out why it happened? So then you go and find out what is a unique things that created that event. Now, if you know two similar events, your chances then to say, okay, likelihood these 6 things happening, they're similar, they're generating this event. So that's how you train a model with the historical facts. And then once you're confident that model is now good enough, you put it in day-to-day use with the new data. So it constantly keeps looking for those patterns that it knew historically produced an event, an unwanted or wanted event, and starts surveillance for that patterns.
So those patterns also could include situations where specific data occurs or events occur that result in specific data prior to an event.
That's correct. Yeah.
So that MAANA could say, hey, A, B, C, and D just happened, and in the past, when A, B, C, and D happened, 10 days later, we had this kind of event or something.
That's correct. And usually in this world, we call, in our world, a network of models. So there are models, those models report to other models, they report to other models, and before that you expose to some human being to make a judgment, the system itself reiterates its own decision, because particularly in an alarm world, cybersecurity world, the biggest problem is the false positive alarms, because otherwise you can overwhelm a final individual with a lot of alarms and nothing to prove that's really something going on.
Right, and if you have alarms going off that are false alarms over time, humans start to ignore alarms.
Definitely, but
does MAANA pick that up as well?
In models, MAANA learn from their own decisions. So if I mentioned before our first break, so the system comes back and learns from its own decisions. So the models become more focused, more refined, more smarter. Yeah.
All right, I know we're running out of time. Workplace safety. How can MAANA help us in workplace safety?
So in our oil and gas customers, health, environment, and safety is a big undertaking. A number of uses of MAANA involves health, environment, safety specific, particularly assessing job-related risks when an activity or a well planning or an activity planning is put together. So that's a very frequent use area of MAANA, to look at all the historical data, look at all the events, incidents, and why that happened, why people thought it happened, learning from all that data, and to guide a health, environment, safety expert to accurately assess the HES risk of a certain task is what we do really well in this space.
Can you get MAANA, is MAANA a product, a system that everybody in an organization can use ultimately at some level, or is it just going to be a product used by those focused on metrics?
So the final end user of MAANA is thousands of people at a company making operational decisions. To get MAANA to be used like that, you probably need a couple of dozen of people to build solutions on MAANA to power those decision points.
For their company.
But eventually, anyone can use it. We want to focus on operational decisions where there's a decision deadline. So if your decision deadline is a year, you have 6 months to decide on something. I don't want to be in that space. I'd like to be in a space where something happened, you have a few minutes, few hours, but you got to make a decision. And that decision is important for various reasons. And the company makes hundreds of that decision across the world every day. So if we can improve that, that's a great thing. So.
All right. Well, I expect to see MAANA in thousands of companies in the coming years.
Hopefully in hundreds of very big companies. And then from there, maybe thousands of companies all over the place. So.
All right. Barbur, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Aaron.
My pleasure. All right. That was Barbur Ozden of MAANA. I'm Aaron Harber. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Please contact us. We want to hear from you. And thanks for watching.